Another negative aspect of artificial light at night is the effect on the environment and climate change. When most people think of the term environment, their visualizations contain sunny images of landscapes, flora, fauna and people. However, there is one aspect of our environment which is rarely visualized, and that is the night environment. Two environments must be considered when we use the term environment: the day environment and the night environment, each with its own peculiarities. Most people, because they live in urban areas, view environment through the eyes of one who has grown up in towns and cities, their days filled with sunshine and darkness warded off by an overabundance of artificial light. They are indeed children of the light. As their acquaintance with the night is short and limited, they rarely think of it as an environment devoid of light but an environment filled with danger and fear. In rural areas there is a much greater awareness of the arrival and departure of the sun and the onset of night and what it brings. There is a greater awareness that the night environment has its own beauty and its own terrors with which one has to contend. Most rural people know the difference between these two environments, what to expect and how to deal with each, as well as the effects they have on oneself and the local flora and fauna. Some animals and insects begin to make their living as the stars come out, and prey and predator alike wait for the darkness to descend. Others take shelter and rest as they wait for the dawn to return again. It is not that night has no lights of its own. Through its cycles, the moon comes and goes in a darkened sky, spreading its cool glow over the landscape. For many creatures it is essential to their lives, how they live and how they die. Stars, caught in an infinite cycle, provide light but change too through the seasons. In a myriad of colors, they parade across the sky, a constant guide to migrating birds of all types in spring and fall. Though often unseen, these birds may be heard in the darkness through the occasional squawk and the sounds of beating wings, as they fly through the night to a new destination, guided by the stars above. Waste light from towns and cities brings confusion to the migrating birds and is a danger in their migration. The observer of nature can foretell the arrival of each season with the rising and setting of particular stars. The setting of the brightest star, Sirius, is an indication that spring is well on its way and the winter constellations are retiring in the west, surrendering to a determined sun. The observer can also distinguish the many patterns of stars that our ancestors knew so well. And, sometimes, they can relate the stories of heroes and heroines and how they were cast to the heavens above. The study of ancient myths and legends is far gone from our culture and most urban dwellers are unfamiliar with the stories of the constellations, never mind even finding them in the night sky. Fascinating insects, such as lighting bugs or fireflies, may be seen in low-lying, damp areas, producing their own lime-green flashes of light to entice a mate. However, few are now found in areas where artificial lighting has been installed. As well, the night environment has its own sounds. In the country, one can hear the lonely howl of a wolf or the mournful cry of coyotes as they prepare for another night of hunting. Until late in the evening, the persistent drumming of a grouse's wings on a log can be heard, calling his hens to come. Owls too contribute to the night sounds, insistently asking with questioning voices floating through the woods from a distance. Over in the pond, the frogs are filling the air with a raucous, unforgettable, and welcome chorus that can be heard through the whole area. Many wonderful sights and sounds can be experienced in a rural area in the night environment. It is indeed alive in so many respects and must be personally experienced to be enjoyed. It is an environment that must be protected, just as the day environment is protected from its enemies. The introduction of artificial light changes this environment, slightly at first but increasingly over time. Before it is detected, many of the entrancing sights and sounds of nature have quietly disappeared, victims of the steadily encroaching lights of civilization. There is now little doubt that we are seeing climate change throughout the world. Our seasons are changing, growing shorter or longer, and the effects are, in many cases, devastating, as the weather changes with the increasing carbon dioxide and temperature in the atmosphere. Our use of lighting definitely contributes to this increase. As coal and natural gas is burned to provide electricity and communities insist on ever-increasing lighting loads, much of it unneeded and wasteful, the amount of greenhouse gases continues to soar while our environment and climate deteriorate. Greenhouse gases are responsible for increasing atmospheric temperatures which, in turn, are responsible for increases in temperatures of the lands and waters. As well, these increases result in catastrophic storms, increased winds, torrential downpours and flooding. Due to Earth's higher temperatures, polar ice caps are melting and the water is running into the oceans. This means that ocean levels are rising. It also means that water in the oceans is expanding with increasing temperatures, creating a larger volume of water which must go somewhere. Coastal communities are feeling the brunt of this increased water as the water levels are now higher and gradually creeping inland, inundating land that was formerly fertile and displacing populations. Rivers are changing with the increasing temperatures. They are breaking up sooner and, often, the results are negative effects on the rivers, their occupants, and their banks. In some cases the springs are arriving sooner and falls are leaving later, upsetting the natural cycles that have been established over many thousands of years. In other cases, people are seeing terrible weather effects that are affecting their way of life. Not only are they affected but their crops and animals too. The increasing temperatures are also detrimental to flora and fauna as many plants and animals have adapted to a specific range of temperatures over thousands of years. Now, they cannot adapt quickly enough to be able to survive. Areas that were formerly fertile and productive are now turning semi-arid or arid and will no longer support the flora and fauna it did previously. The changes and conclusions are obvious, but so are the remedies. We must stop burning and wasting irreplaceable resources in the production of electrical power, much of it then wasted by the use and abuse of improper, inefficient, ineffective lighting throughout our communities. With the technologies we currently possess, appropriate lighting, well designed and controlled, can cut external lighting and power consumption by 50% or more. One look at our Earth's night side from space will quickly show you the tremendous amount of waste that is occurring and increasing daily. No place on Earth is without fault, and this is due to the lack of education on this topic. Education is the key to making the changes which will reduce this light waste, trespass, and pollution. Our community counselors must be educated as to what consequences are occurring as a result of inappropriate, wasteful lighting and what can be done to change the situation. Our citizens, young and old alike, must be educated to eradicate unacceptable light use and minimize the use of appropriate lighting and electrical power. Education is vital and the key to a better future.